So here we are in dDo to paint our model. So to create a new texture, just click here new texture base and this window will pop up, and then just load in all the assets that you need. So we are going to load in tessellated OBJ, material IDs that we created in dDo2 from the normal map, tangent. I will leave this as it is, or you can also flip Y and X axis, ambient occlusion, and you can also add some additional maps that if you have them, like object space, normal, cavity, height, premade, diffuse, specular, gloss, UV, wireframe. We have that, and then just click on bake, and it will take some time for dDo to do its magic, and afterwards we are going to have our model in preview and all the material IDs separated in layers, so we can easily apply different materials and colors and glossiness, specularity, everything that you can do with when you are creating your textures. So sometimes this window will pop up, but never mind that. So here we are. We have our preview window from Marmoset Sky Shop open, and as we can see we have our model imported, and here we have our material IDs with all its colors and all the layers being created in Photoshop. So first of all, let me just tell a few words about this preview window. Here down below you can turn on, turn off wireframe, as you can see here. Flat if you don't want any ambient occlusion being applied to it, and you can also turn off sky and turn off spinning, because if you see here the sky is spinning, and if you turn it off it will stay as is. And you can also change it clicking on these spheres below, and if you hold shift and left click and move the mouse, you can see you can spin the sky yourself. You can control the exposure here, and you can also have some additional settings here, which we are going to explain a little bit later. And if you don't have your model loaded, just click here on load mesh and find it on your hard drive. So the next thing is you just have to click on one of the color to access a separate material ID. So here you can access, by clicking here you can access a bunch of different presets, which really helps. So just let me just select black leather, and you have full control over it, and as you can see it immediately showed in preview because we have this turned on. If you turn this off, then you won't see changes applied immediately. As you can see, we have this little halo from a specularity, and if you click on more and turn off sensor blooming, you can see you can turn this off, or you can even change the settings here. And this is maybe this comes in handy when you are trying to render out your final design, but for preview purposes I normally leave this turned off. So then we are in this selection of this letter, and you can also rename this, which is really wise. Just click on it and name it grip upper background, and now you can also access the diffuse color, and let me just set it to dark red, and it will update. and you can also change the specularity and the glossiness. So this is really cool, because you can immediately see the changes applied to your model, and you can go back and change it if you want. And also the glossiness, I don't want it to be so glossy, so yeah, something like this. And as you can see, it's really easy to quickly create something finished, and then we can also do some magic. Let me just apply. I just selected this lower part of the grip, and again I'm going to let's just apply rubber. It doesn't really matter, because you can always go in and set this specularity and glossiness and color by hand. So let's just say we want something more like this, and let's just rename it grip bottom background. And now I just want to create some indentions. So you can do this by clicking here on add detail, and this window will pop up. And if you click on preview, a new layer, a new file will be created. Let me just, as you can see here, preview crop, and set crop size, and you can just apply this to the part you want. Press enter to apply changes, and then just select something you like. There are a bunch of different presets, and really it would take hours to explain everything, but just play around with them. And I'm just going to show you this one, because I already checked it out earlier. You can see you can change the angle of these distortions and a bunch of different deformations, and you can even apply it only in cavities or edges. And this comes in handy with some different presets, but it's good to know that it's there. So you can also apply it to a separate layers, strength, everything. It's really amazing what you can do with this. And then just when you are done, just click here on this logo, and the changes will be applied to the model. Let me just close this down, and this now looks something like this, and you would say, wow, this is not what I wanted. And yeah, okay, but you can change it. So you have this new layer created here, and you can always go in and change the diffuse like we did before, and it will immediately look better. And sometimes you can always just hold you can control the strength of the diffuse, specularity, glossiness and height. And let me just apply this to the same value, and if you hold shift and click and drag, you can see it changed all three height, all three diffuse, specularity and glossiness. And now nothing is seen, but if we change this to, let's say, 25, and something should happen. Yeah, you can see we get really nice looking effect, and I will increase it even more so it's more obvious. And it looks like some indentions in on the grip, so it doesn't look flat as it did before. And you can see how easily and how quickly I created this, how much control I have over this. So it's all about just clicking on a separate part and then just applying a different material to it, and just play around with diffuse, specularity and glossiness. And let me see, yeah, I changed this, but I didn't want that, so I wanted to change the blade. Yoga blade. As you can see, it really pops up. Oops. And you can change the color. I want the blade to be a little bit more white grayish and not so glossy. And as you can see, it's really quick control over specularity and glossiness and everything, and it's really cool. So back to these reddish parts that are going to be, but always remember, just always rename this, or you're going to get lost. If you want to change something afterwards, you're not going to know which layer is for what, and it can really mess up your time of design. So I just want something more reddish and something like this maybe. And as you can see how quickly we are creating something pretty much finished, but you can always go in and play around with the settings and just create a bunch of different maps really quickly. You just have to save them out and you have your map created, and you just go back in, change the color of diffuse, for example, or specularity or glossiness, save the map out, and you have the second map. It's really that simple. And as you can see, we have some ambient occlusion, and if this ambient occlusion is a little bit too much for us, you can always go here to global details. This represents the presets that are going to be applied to all of the parts, so you can even add some additional details which are going to be applied to all of it, and it's really easy to control. So up here, ambient occlusion, if we decrease it, you can see it's going to diminish the ambient occlusion a little bit, and if we go even further, it's going to diminish it even further. Just pay attention to this edge. You can see it's a really slight change, but sometimes little changes can make a big difference. So back to material definition, you can always change the view. You can see here we have colors, and you can click on them, and if you turn off color mode, you have all the materials that were created, and you can see here it's really nice to have them named, because we can quickly see which one it is, and this we don't really know what this represents, and you should always rename these layers. You can see how quickly we can create something really interesting. Maybe glossiness is a little bit too harsh. You can see this and this circular part and this lower part can be set to a same material or a completely different material. So if we change something to, let's say, bronze, and bam, you can see where the magic lies. The magic lies in quick access to different types of material. Let's say rusted, which will look like something more reddish. Yeah, this looks nice too. Just play around with these settings and you will get a bunch of different results. So this really shows us how important it is to think ahead when you create a material ID map, because now we can access different parts, and if we make a mistake, for example, we want this to be in a separate material ID, like bluish gem, and leave this to the reddish, we will have some issues, and we won't be able to quickly access these changes. And then, for example, when you are happy with your design, you can always press space to see how it's going to look if you take a screenshot of it, and you can always save screenshot to desktop. You have this size and some different controls which you can apply to the screenshot, and maybe save the desktop. And if we open it up, we can see it's really quickly created a render. Just took a snapshot of a screenshot. It just took a screenshot, and it's a really cool way to easily create previews of your model, so you can send them and show to other people. Sometimes if you want to create some effects that are not being to be found under add detail part of dDo, you can create a custom one. So I just, for example, created this inner part of the blade with noise from Photoshop, and in all the diffuse and specular and gloss maps you have a custom layer map folder. So you just need to create let me just click on it and let's see, blade, blade, and we can see I have this part selected now. Let me just select this by holding Control and clicking on the layer. And how I did that is by going up to the UV map, and I just turn off everything but the UV map, and I just used this magic wand tool, and I just click on all the parts that I want to be selected, and then under selection, modify, expand, I expand it for 2 pixels so the edges are also being selected, and I have this mask created, and I just created a new layer and a new folder as you can see here, and just apply this mask to it. And then afterwards I just went in and created new layer and apply a noise, add noise, and then just play around with levels by Control L, and just play around with the noise in level settings. And then I just Control clicked on the mask, and with the layer selected I just pressed Control C to copy what is selected, and then went down, Control D to go out of the selection, and then went down to the blade folder of dDo. Let me just turn this on. Blade folder for dDo, and in this folder put custom layers here. I just selected one of these layers and Control Shift and V to paste it in the same position that it was copied from, and then just went down to Specular map by pressing here on Specular and again clicking on blade, and it selected the Specular folder, and again put custom layer here. I just selected this layer and again Control Shift and V to create specularity for this part, and the same for the glow and for the height. And then afterwards I just quick exported it, and the normal map was also created from these textures that I just passed in. So as you can see, it's really easy to create some custom effects for your model. There are no limitations about how you create your textures, so just play around with these techniques that I showed you, and it will work. So when you are finished with your texturing, you can always export these created maps, and as you can see here, you can export diffuse, specularity, gloss, height and normal, and you can set here the custom output path, and you can tick here which ones you want to export, and this comes in handy when you want to export only checked, and if you want to export all, you just click here on export all. Then for example, if you do some additional changes to your texture and you don't want to go back again to these export options, you can always quick export and it will export only checked maps, which you can see here. This is really great because you can quickly create a new maps. So then if you just open up your folder, you can see it exported the diffuse, specular, and this is glossiness, and normal map and specularity, and you have all your textures ready to be used in some game engines or some other software. And so this was it, a quick overview how to use dDo to create textures for your models.